Good morning and welcome to the show. Before we begin, usual apologies. It's a noisy house, so some noise might bleed in through the microphones. Now, today we're going to be considering the scenario, the one that a lot of us, in the early days anyway, end up with. That's before we get some wisdom on the matter. And that is where you have to check in with your potential customer, or maybe you have a client that you're already in a business relationship with, and you have an agenda that you're trying to advance. And that's when you have to ask them, have you seen my proposal? Have you read my proposal yet? You know, those sorts of scenarios. You sent the PDF, you sent the PowerPoint, you sent the whatever it is that you need to send, you send the envelope to the office, and you just want to know if they have seen the proposal or if they have read the proposal. Obviously, because if they haven't seen it and they haven't read it, then you can't make progress, you can't move to the next step, which is why the most people go the obvious route by calling, sending the text message, sending the WhatsApp, sending the email to say, have you seen my proposal? Have you read the email? Have you blah 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 blah? Now, this is a bad question to ask because it is close ended. It looks like it's the best thing to do right now, or rather, it looks like it's the most obvious thing to do, but it actually is a bad question because it's close ended and there's no room to build a constructive conversation around a question like this. Close ended questions are questions that you can answer with either a yes or a no. And I'm sure you see the problem with these kinds of questions. Because if the person says yes, then the conversation continues along and you guys might close the business. But then if the person says no, you're going to end up with those scenarios where you're doing the endless follow up cycle. So the person says no, and you say, okay, I'll give you a week, I'll give you a few more days to have a look at it. I'll call you up on Wednesday. Is that okay? And the person says, yeah, that's fine. And then you call on Wednesday, have you seen my proposal yet? Or the person says no. And then you say, okay, I'll give you 2 more days. And then you call back again on Saturday, and then it's no, and on and on and on. And then you're stuck in that endless follow up cycle, or eventually you give up because each time they're saying no to a closed question, and you're trying to reschedule for them to read the proposal, read the email, and also because when you use a closed-ended question like this and the answer is no, another obvious question, which is why haven't you read it, is going to be kind of rude given the circumstances. Well, I know it depends on the level of rapport that you have with the person, and so these and many more. So excuse me. These and many more are the reasons why it's a bad idea to ask close-ended questions like, have you seen my proposal? Have you read the email? Have you read my proposal? Now, the right strategy to do in this case is to do the opposite. And the opposite of a closed-ended question is an open-ended question. And if you've been following the last episodes, the last 3 or 4 episodes, the strategy is going to be similar. You're going to ask an open-ended question, and then that gives you room to qualify and to move the business deal along. For those of you who are listening to the show for the first time, qualification, when it comes to traditional sales theory, is the idea, or rather the process of engaging people in conversations to try and figure out what they want, what they need, what they can afford, if they're still interested, what else, and then if they have a reasonable time frame for moving forward. So it's absolutely pivotal to sales. And just in case you've been listening to the show for a while, maybe you've listened to the last 10, 20 episodes, and if you haven't figured it out, then let me spell it out clearly right here. Qualification is an essential skill when it comes to sale and selling, and so it's absolutely pivotal. It's absolutely essential. Is a critical skill to have to learn how to convince people to buy or to move the deal along, or whichever way you look at it. Oh, by the way, my own opinion, you can't convince anyone to do anything, but that's a question for another show. So in sales, we're not actually trying to convince people to do anything. We're looking for people who are properly motivated, who already have the need and who already have the drive to get things done. And then we're just aligning our interests. My interest is to get this thing sold. The person's interest is to advance their own vision or their own goals, and then my product or service can help them do that. So the right strategy: ask open-ended questions and then qualify. So, an example of open-ended questions that you can use in this case would be, which part of the proposal did you agree with most? Now, in this case, you can see that it's a different question, it's a different flair, and there is room for the conversation to continue. Which part of the proposal did you agree with most? If you hit somebody up with that on a phone call, the person can't answer yes or no. The person actually has to go into the parts of the proposal that they like or the parts of the proposal that they disagree with, and on and on. There's room for a conversation. In this case, you're going to be able to get confirmation that not only did they read the email, but these and these and these are the parts that are good, or these are the problematic parts, and these are where you guys need to iron out. Now, another way would be to say, does ABC part of the proposal reflect that thing that we discussed last week? See, that's a good question, because that also gives you room to build upon specific parts of the proposal. Just in case you didn't figure it out, in this second scenario, we're calling and asking questions about specific parts of the proposal. You can't answer yes or no to this question. And then, of course, you can't answer about a specific part of the proposal if you haven't read the document or the email in the first place. And then, if you're dealing with scenarios where people have business partners, bosses that they have to consider with, back to our previous example, where Mr. Phillips, the real estate agent, is dealing with Ogbuefi, I can't remember the name we came up with, Chukwudi, Ogbuefi Chukwudi, and he wants to consult with his wife. So in those sorts of scenarios where the person has a business partner, a wife that they have to consult with, then when you call up or when you send that text message, you can ask questions like, so what questions did your partner have after looking at the proposal? You can answer yes or no. It's not closed. You actually have to say something that, well, my wife had to look at it, but she doesn't like 1, 2, 3, and she doesn't like 4, 5, 6. So now you know that there is room for you guys to move with the negotiations and with the relationship, because now you know what the knotty issues are. On the other hand, if the person says that, oh, my wife absolutely love it, then, it's good. Now you know that what you have to do is to get an advancement, to move things to the next stage. So I'm sure you can see now that open-ended questions give you more room to move, give you more room to maneuver, and give you more room for the business relationship to move forward. So even if you're not dealing with scenarios like this, where you've sent the proposal and you haven't heard back, generally use open questions. Now, let's look at one of these questions. Let's see if we can build some scenarios around this. Let's see. Okay, since I started the podcast, I think I've used wedding photographers, architects, farmers, carpenters, real estate agents. What else? Okay, let's see if we can come up with something around lawyers today. Okay, so you are a lawyer and you have sent over the proposal document. Okay, I can't come up with any scenario in my mind, but let's just agree that we're dealing with a lawyer. So you're a lawyer, you send over the proposal, and then you pick up the phone, you call the person, ring, small talk, the usual, how's madam, blah, blah, blah. And then you get straight to the crux of the matter. So you ask, Mr. Client, what part of the proposal do you agree with the most? You notice now, open question. This is not, have you seen my proposal? Because if you say, okay, Mr. Client, have you seen my proposal? The answer is either yes or no, and then if it's no, you're back in that endless follow-up cycle of, okay, let me give you tomorrow, let me give you 3 days, let me give you 2 days, and then you get to that point where you're feeling awkward and you just don't want to call because it looks as if you want this deal more than the client. So you call up, which part of the proposal do you agree with the most? For our purposes, let's say the best answer is going to be the client will say, oh, I read it and I agree with absolutely everything. Now, as a lawyer, you know that this is a good sign and that you guys are ready to move on with the sale. So you keep asking more questions to qualify, to be sure. You confirm, rather, that everything is on point, and then you propose the next step. So I agree with everything. Oh, really? You agree with everything? You even noticed section blah, 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 where we said this, that. The person says, yeah, I agree with section this, that. It makes sense. And you say, okay. And then the consideration, the final sum to be paid is 2.5. You're good with that too. Say, well, 2.5 is kind of high, sharp, but, but yeah, we can make it work. We might have to negotiate a few things here. Then that's the point where you say, okay, in that case, Mr. Client, the next step is we need to pay X amount as a deposit so that we can engage this party or engage this or serve this motion or do this in court or do that. And then that's how you move things along. That's the best answer. Now, in this case, the second best answer, when you say which part of the proposal do you agree with the most, second best answer will be, I liked everything except paragraph this, that. So in this case, you're now going to ask more questions because you're trying to figure out what could be improved, and then the goal is to schedule an advancement. So in this case, you'll be like, oh, okay, yeah, paragraph this, that, that. We put it there because you said you want to achieve this, that. So I thought I was going to be able to solve the problem. What am I missing? And the client is going to talk. He's going to say, well, yeah, it kind of makes sense, but the thing is, if we pursue it like this, it's going to mess me up here. It's going to affect this. It's going to affect that. And you guys are now having a conversation about how things can be improved. You're making progress because it's not just a yes or a no answer. And remember, we should always be scheduling advancements. So if it turns out that paragraph XYZ is the naughty paragraph that needs to be sorted out, and you guys have discussed over the phone, and you have verbally proposed something, and he thinks it makes sense, then you schedule an advancement. Okay, I think I understand you properly. Please give me 2 days to rectify this, and then I'll call you back on Friday. I'll call you back on Friday after I've sent the amendments, so that we can okay that. Does that sound like a good plan to you? And the person is going to say, Friday, no. I'm traveling to the village. I'm going to go and check. I'm going to go and check my farm or whatever. So I'll be back Monday morning. So can we do it Monday? So okay, fine, fantastic. So Monday morning, I would have sent it out over the weekend. I'll call you Monday by 9. Is that cool? The client will say yes, and you say okay, no problem. So in this case, you can see you have an advancement. There is a definite date and a time. Everybody knows this is what we're supposed to do. So when you call on Monday morning, it's not going to be one of those endless follow-up calls. It's not going to be how are you, how's the family, how's the farm, how was the election, your boys are loyal, God save Nigeria, blah blah blah, and all those other things. You're going to call on Monday morning and it's going to be straight to the point. Welcome back. How's the village? Yams are doing okay. All right. I've sent over the amended paragraph. Are we cool with this? Okay, so I now have your authority to blend it in with the original contract. And it's going to say yes. Okay, so no problem. So I can send it to your lawyer, Mazi Chukudi, by Wednesday, and then after that we should be able to handle the signing on Friday. And the answer is either going to be yes or no. But anyway, the bottom line is you guys get the point. You are scheduling advancements at every single stage. Okay, back to the topic because I think we went off point. Where was I? Okay, now the worst possible answer that you can get is when the person says, I haven't read the proposal. So remember, the question is, which part of the proposal do you agree with the most? You can answer yes or no. You can say, oh, I agree with everything. You can say, I liked most of it except blah, 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 blah. But the worst answer in this case would be for the person to say, I haven't read anything. I haven't read the proposal. I haven't read the email. I haven't looked at the document yet. It's still at the office, blah, blah, blah. I traveled, this happened, that happened. Anyway, so at this stage, what you do is you go back to your qualifying questions and then you just cross-check your assumptions with the client. So it's questions just to figure out whether the person is still interested, whether he wants, whether it's a need, they can afford, the timelines are the same. And also because sometimes circumstances change. So maybe 2 weeks ago, it looked like they really, really needed a lawyer. Excuse me. They really needed a lawyer to sort this out. But now circumstances have changed, and so maybe they might not need a lawyer anymore. And maybe that's the reason why he didn't look at the document, because it looks like they're still trying to figure things out, and maybe they can make it happen. So you're just asking questions because you're trying to figure out what did I miss. So in this case, something like Mazi Chukudi, I thought time was of the essence here. This guy is still doing this. If he continues like that, we might lose control. Might lose control of the property. Assume that we had to move by March 30th latest. I mean, isn't that the case anymore? And if circumstances have changed, then this is the point where you find out. Mazi Chukudi might say, well, yes, initially, but, it's a family matter. His uncle reached out to my uncle. His wife reached out to my wife. We started talking. So it looks as if we don't have to initiate court action that 30th of March anymore. Now that we're talking, and they have agreed in principle that they're not going to do anything to the land or to the factory or to the whatever for another 4 months. It looks like we have some breathing room. barrister, please give me 1 month. Let me see what can happen. So in this case, you now know that circumstances have changed because you have gone back to asking qualifying questions to check all the assumptions that you had when you guys had the conversation, and you now know the true state of affairs, and you don't have to get back into that whole thing of, have you seen my proposal? No. Okay, let me give you 1 week. Have you read the email yet? No. Okay, let me give you another week. Have you read my proposal yet? No. Let me, you propose another 3 days. And then by the time you realize that you've been playing this game for a month, one day you pick up your phone and you say, you know what, this Mazi is not serious. And you just forget about it. Rather than making assumptions, use open-ended questions, engage, qualify. You'll get to the root of what the problem is. You'll have all the information that you need, and you're going to be able to move the deal forward. Okay, now just for housekeeping sake, if this is your first time of listening to the podcast, what's a proposal? Because we've been going over this, assuming that everybody knows what a proposal is. I'm not going to give the technically correct definition of what a proposal is. I'm going to use a rough definition. Now, over here on the show, every time we hear proposal, it means something that the customer can say yes or no to. And so a proposal is absolutely essential. It's absolutely pivotal for driving your business forward, because the problem is a lot of people have conversations, don't make a proposal, and then you just say, I'll call you next week. And you wonder why the deal doesn't move forward. If you haven't put a proposal and you call next week, what exactly are you calling next week over? Because there was no proposal on the table. But if you finish the meeting right now and you say, okay, Mazi Chukudi, I think I understand 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. How about we do it this way? Let me send you a written proposal by Wednesday about what it is that we plan to do, about our agreed plan of action. And if everything checks out, then it's just a matter of paying the deposit, paying the, sorry, what's it called? I can't remember. I've been out of practice for a long time. Anyway, the money that you pay so that the lawyer can get going and attend court and file papers and everything. So paying X amount so that we can move forward. Does that sound like an okay plan with you? And Mazi Chukudi is going to say something like yes, and then next time you call, you have a definite agenda to move ahead on. And but if he says, lawyer, calm down now, give me time, give me like 1 week, then you know that you have missed something at the qualification stage regarding the person's wants, regarding their need, regarding their timelines, regarding the objective. I mean, you never know. And whenever you are confused about anything, you use open questions, and the strategy is to qualify. And this is the reason why proposal are absolutely important, because they also give you a what's that word? They're kind of like a barometer. They let you know whether you're on course or you're not. If you put forward a proposal, somebody says yes, that we're good to go. If they say no, it means there are some other things that we need to address and we need to go back on. So that's a proposal. Anything that the customer can say yes or no to. Do proposals always have to be written out? That's a question for another show. But bottom line for today, it's a bad idea to call somebody up, to send the email, to send the WhatsApp, asking the simple question, have you seen my proposal? Have you read my email? Because the answer might be yes or no. If the answer is no, you're dead. Use open-ended questions, and that will help you to move the business relationship forward. So thank you very much for your time and attention. I'll catch you guys at the next recording.